So you want to shoot street photography, but you don't know where to start, you don't know what lenses to use. I've never done it before. It's scary. What do? You see this cool subject and you're like, all right, am I gonna take this photo or not? Is he gonna get mad if I take the photo? What's gonna happen? And you don't end up taking the photo and you're like, fuck, I should have taken it. Welcome to street photography. For me, street photography is sick because it's almost like you're in a video game. Like, I see it as like GTA. Like, you know, when you play GTA, you just get to wander around the map. You get to do cool shit. You can steal cars and stuff. Obviously, I don't steal cars in street photography, but it's the same in the sense that you can walk the same streets like 20 different times and you'll get different photos every single time because there's going to be new people, different weather conditions, all that sort of stuff, which just changes it. So first of all, can you photograph strangers? The rules change depending on where you live, but here in Melbourne, Australia, where I live, you're allowed to take photos of strangers in public as long as you're in a public space. So if someone's really upset at you and they want you to delete the photo, usually I'll just be like, okay, whatever, I'll just delete it because I don't want to make someone upset just so I can post a photo onto Instagram. Like, I don't care about that. There's ways to avoid people noticing you. Which brings us to the next thing, which is how do you actually photograph strangers? You're walking down the street and you see this sick composition, this cool character like we were talking about before, and you're like, oh, I want to get this photo of them, but I don't want them to notice. There's many different ways to do it. Some things that I do include pretending that you're taking a photo of something else. So there's a subject and they're walking closer to you. What I do is I just literally take a photo of them, like blatantly, like as obvious as anything. Like, I don't even try and hide it. Just point the camera up, take your photo, but then hold the camera there for like another 5 seconds and then like look into the distance and take some more photos as if you're taking a photo of something that's way behind them. Because usually what happens is they'll sort of look at you and they'll be like, what the hell just happened? Did that guy take a photo of me? But then when they see you like, you know, taking a photo of something else, they're like, oh, okay, whatever. He mustn't have been taking a photo of me. So I do that all the time and I've actually never been questioned by it, ever. So it must be pretty good. You're at home about to go out on a shoot and you're like, all right, I want to do some street photography, but what lens do you use? What do you bring? This is completely subjective and it completely depends on the style of photo that you're trying to get. For me, it constantly changes. Sometimes I like using a 35mm to get shots like these ones here. It's a bit of a wider lens, but it still has that nice depth because it's a 1.4 aperture lens. And because I do a lot of night photography, that helps me that helps let a lot more light into the frame. That helps let a lot more light in. That helps let a lot more light in, whatever. You know what I mean. The only thing about a 35mm is usually you're getting pretty close to your subjects, so it can be pretty daunting, like trying to shoot someone who's like right in front of you. So that's something you got to keep in mind, but I usually just send it and usually no one really cares anyway. Everyone else is busy worrying about their own lives. They're not thinking about, oh, did that guy just take a photo of me? Like, most people will just continue on with their days. They'll see you and they'll go, I don't even know what just happened, and they'll just continue walking. The other type of lens you can use is a zoom lens. You can use like a 105mm, a 70-200. I've been using the Sigma 105 f1.4 recently. It's good because when you're shooting someone from so far away, they don't even know most of the time that you've actually taken the photo. So it's a bit more discreet and you can like sort of go into incognito street photographer mode where you can literally just take photos of people without them knowing. So these are the shots you can get on a 105mm. Every time I chuck in this lens, it's just easy bangers. Like, there's just so much depth to this lens. Depth. I love that fucking word, depth. It just describes everything I love about photography, just depth. Next thing which is cool about street photography is you can use your surroundings to frame your subjects. When I was doing some street photography in Sydney, there was this rubbish bin. There was just bins lined up on the street, but one was so full that it was open, and I used that to fill up some negative space and help frame this guy who was just standing there. You don't have to use a bin to do this. You can use literally anything. Anything that is in the surroundings you can use, which is the beauty of street photography. The last thing, which is, it's hard to do, but once you get this, you can pretty much take photos of anyone without them knowing. It's a hack. If you have a silent shutter mode and you shoot from the hip, shooting from the hip essentially means what it means. It's shooting like this. So you'll be walking past a subject and you take photos of them like this. You have your camera in silent shutter mode. They're just not gonna know that you've taken a photo. The only thing about this is it's quite hard to compose a photo correctly. So you're gonna probably have to crop it in post, but that will enable you to capture someone just candid without them even knowing. When it comes down to it, just like anything, your equipment doesn't matter. It's just about going out there with whatever you have, just trying to take photos in the streets, and by doing that you will get better. If you do go out and take some street photos, tag me on Instagram at 7th Era, because I'd love to see what you come up with, what compositions you use, and how you get creative with it all. That is all for today's video. As always, don't think, just do.
Repetition, sharp and blaze, like me.
I've got the FPV drone back here. As you can see, it's quite dusty. I was flying it down at New Year's when we were on the houseboat. I landed it on like a gravel road, just kicked up all this dust and the whole drone got dusty. And I don't know if that's good or bad for the drone, but that's a future Liam problem.